Hey, it's Chris. Today, I want to do something a little different. I don't want to talk about tech. Instead, if it's all right with you guys, I want to take a break and talk about things that I feel like have helped contribute to my success. Basically, I kind of wanted to make a video that was like my own advice to the Chris of 10 years ago or so. The Chris that had no resources and was able to build a business for himself. The Chris that in many ways didn't know what he was doing with his life, was still experimenting, figuring things out, to the Chris that made it. So hopefully there's something in this video that's gonna resonate with you wherever you feel like you're at in your own journey towards success. And of course, success means different things to different people. But in this video, I'm gonna be focusing more on the money-making side of success rather than the happiness side of success, because they're not the same, although they can be related. Maybe we'll do a different video on happiness and fulfillment, all that stuff, my views on that, outside of this video. But as I've been thinking about things, I am really huge on the concept of being your own bailout. You guys know I made a video a while back called 5 Ways to Earn 6 Figures with an iPad. It wasn't really about the iPad. This is an Apple focused channel a lot of the time, so I worked that into the video, but the concept was kind of like, you know, hey, if you have an internet connection and a reliable device, here's some things that you can do to start an online business and start earning some life-changing money for yourself. So if you missed that video, I'd like to recommend it. I'll link it up down below because it was an important video for me. I got to pass on a lot of the knowledge that I've learned as I've built up this business. And I could tell by the response in the comments, people were like, it feels like I actually care about them. They could tell it was genuine, that I just wanted to help. And that's true. I really do just want to help out where I can. So this is sort of a continuation of that video in some ways. But before we really get into it, let me just give a very, very brief history of Daily Tech, this story for everybody who's new around here or maybe missed it. So back in 2012, I was working at a job I hated. I started a blog on the side. It was called Daily Tech, and it got pretty popular within a month or two, getting hundreds of thousands of views, started bringing in some decent side income. Eventually, my wife and I decided to invest all our retirement savings into the business and go full time, really make a go of it, and that really paid off. And at some point along the way, we switched from doing writing to video content. I had to relearn everything. That was actually in 2015. We did that out of necessity because there was a Google search engine change that dropped our blog from the rankings, and we just weren't ranking anymore. Traffic just dried up overnight, basically. And so we went in a new direction. It was video. I was terrible at first. Here we are. We've got however many hundreds of thousands of subscribers later, millions and millions of views, AdSense, sponsors, connections, new internet friends, maybe the best audience and community on YouTube. You guys are amazing. And that's partly why I want to make this video, because if there's anybody out there who wants to make something out of their life and just feels kind of stuck, I want to help you out. So along the way, before I even got into creating content about tech stuff, I mean, I was into the design world. I actually went to college for design stuff, didn't graduate, had a semester left, but I've always been entrepreneurial. I started my own business and I just got going down that path and ended up starting lots of different businesses. And some of those worked out good, some didn't, and I learned from those. And all of that knowledge kind of got rolled up and has become useful to me as I've been doing this venture here, this project, Daily Tech. I get to sit here in this chair and talk about things that I'm interested in front of the camera and have lots of people tune in because I put in a ton of work. Which leads me to the first thought that I want to share here today. And, by the way, this is sort of like if you came up to me and you're like, hey, Chris, what's your advice on just living well, making it, really doing something with my life? This is the kind of advice that I would be giving to you, but I can't meet each of you individually in person. I get a lot of DMs, people contact me, and I just don't have time to interact with everybody individually. So I'm making this video to interact with everybody all at once. But here's a really important concept. It's basic, it should seem obvious, but I feel like you just need to have it drilled home. And that is this: if nothing changes, then nothing changes. And what do I mean by that? You can sit around and complain all day and dream big dreams, but if you don't take some action, you're not gonna wake up tomorrow and suddenly be rich or have that house or car or something that you always wanted, or that relationship that you always wanted. you can't continue to do the same things over and over and expect different results than you've already been getting. So if you have a dream living inside your head or your chest and you're like, there's a location that I need to be for that, or there's a person that I need to meet, or I need to get rid of this person out of my life in order to make this happen, then nothing changes unless something changes. You got to start making some changes. So you have a plan, you're working towards it. And while we're talking about taking action, let me just be very clear about this. The internet is largely permissionless. What does that mean? It means if you are going to set up an online business, let's say, you don't have to go through a lot of hoops, right? When you sign up for an account somewhere, like some hosting or to get on a certain service or get some cloud storage for your business, there's not a big questionnaire that's going to make you fill out a bunch of, screener questions. It's permissionless. You just sign up and start making things happen. And we're kind of living in this Web 2 era. There was Web 1. We're kind of in Web 2 where everything's centralized right now. We're heading towards Web 3, a whole new world of opportunities, and it's going to get even more permissionless. So what I'm trying to say is you don't have to wait for somebody to co-sign or for somebody to say, okay, now's the right time to start making some moves. The only person's permission that you really need to make stuff happen for yourself is yourself, which brings me to the next point. Believe in yourself. This seems so obvious too, and we're gonna get to some other, I think, less obvious insights in a minute, but I just feel like there's people out there who just need to hear this from somebody. Like if you have low self-esteem or you're not believing in yourself, or you're like, well, I just don't think I'm smart enough to do whatever, or I could never figure out how to do that, or I just don't have what it takes. No, you do, and you can. And if nobody else is gonna tell you that they believe in you, I believe in you. There was a lot of people who doubted me, that didn't believe in Chris. And those people now try to get in touch, people from high school and stuff, wanting a piece of the action now, the daily tech action, right? And, just because you were doing something, for the last 10 years doesn't mean you have to keep doing that same thing. You don't have to live up to anybody's expectations. You can break whatever patterns you've set up in your life. It doesn't matter. And people are going to talk if you do that. And they are probably going to get judgmental. But so what? I've had to have really, really, really thick skin being on YouTube here, putting my face out there, my thoughts, being my authentic self. Not everybody's cool with that when they try to take you down, but unfortunately that's part of the package. If you put your dreams out there and if you're actively learning and people are seeing you acting different and doing different things, there's gonna be critiques and criticisms. Your job is to learn how to not care. So don't get stuck there. Take it from me. My first YouTube videos were awful, just terrible. People were making comments like, get some headspace. They weren't good, but that was part of the learning process. And I've really improved over time. I'm probably gonna keep improving in whatever it is that I do. And it's sort of related. It's also really important to not get stuck in a pity party and just be coming up with all kinds of excuses, right? Feeling bad for yourself. I saw a quote I liked the other day. I saved it because I really liked it. It was something along the lines of, the best way to stay broke is to just be pessimistic. Or put differently, one of my favorite quotes of all time, I shared this in a recent video too the other day, probably on the podcast too, is you can't deposit excuses. It's true. At some point, there's gonna be some sort of situation or situations that feel unfair to everybody. I don't care who you are, things are gonna feel unfair, but excuses aren't valuable. Action is valuable. So a different lens that you can look through, a good framework for looking at where you are in life, because everyone's at different spots, right? Is to start playing infinite games. Don't play finite games. What do I mean by that? Instead of looking at something and being like, well, that's it, I lost, or so-and-so won. No, what you gotta do is say, right now, maybe it's feeling like I'm losing, or so-and-so is winning, but there's always another move that you can make. There's always another play to be played. Now here's the rub, and this is where a lot of people are gonna quit watching this video. I expect it. It happens in real life when I'm talking to people. But you can't be lazy, okay? You can do anything. You can go out and accomplish all kinds of things if you put your mind to it, if you're just not lazy. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about that video, about, look, here's 5 businesses I basically just spelled out for you. You can start with very minimal resources. I made a whole video about it. And you know what the person said? They were older than me, and they were at a point where I think they could probably use some extra income. You know what they told me? They're like, yeah, I just don't know if I want to be doing a whole lot of extra work. That's what they said. I mean, a while back, I got a comment that said, this guy's just a trust fund kid. And I laughed because like the Andy Mineo lyric says, something about people always see you on the mountaintop, but they never see you on the climb. And that's so true. I'm not a trust fund kid. Everything that I have is the direct result of years of hard work that went into this business. And as I've been building this business, one of the things that's been stuck in the forefront of my mind all these years is this thought that I have to do the hard things that nobody else is willing to do in order to have the kinds of things that everybody else wants to have, but very few people are going to be able to. A lot of people just expect, they have these expectations like, I deserve to be successful. You know, where's my handout? Give it to me. And they just kind of sit around waiting for a winning lotto ticket to fall into their lap. But that's not the way the world works, is it? For everybody out there who's like, oh, Chris can afford to give me some free iPhones and Macs and whatever, you know, everything was just handed to that guy. Those people weren't there when I was building this channel from 0 to my first 1,000 subscribers over a 6-month period. Out in the garage where I built by hand an 8x8 little studio. I went to the hardware store and got some materials, and my dad and I built this studio out in the garage. There was no heat, no air conditioning. I went out and I filmed and I learned, and there was nobody watching, and I was getting all kinds of bad comments, but I stuck with it because I wanted to make this happen. And eventually things started taking off. Those people were never there to see the nights that I used to spend making spreadsheets of different YouTube channels and their videos and analyzing things and trying to come up with strategies. And those people weren't there when I was purchasing equipment that was so painful to purchase. And it wasn't the best equipment, the best cameras. I didn't start out filming on a really nice Sony camera or a Red camera or something, right? I started with a little point and shoot camera. And those people aren't there to see the hours and hours and hours of editing that it takes to put one video out. They just see, oh, here's a 10-minute video and Chris is just having the time of his life. No, I did all the work for all the editing. I still do all my own editing. Not to mention all the hours invested in learning, right? Some of that was trial and error. Some of it was getting a course and paying for, you know, like a videography course. That's something that I did. Learning for free online is free, but it costs you time, right? I've invested so much time into everything. Like the people who are just like, oh, Chris had things handed on a silver platter, they don't get it. So what I'm trying to drive home here is the point that you shouldn't just expect things to happen if you're not actively engaged in trying to make them happen. So here's a great illustration. When I started this channel and later decided to kind of have an Apple focus, I wasn't always Apple focused. I thought, hey, that would be so cool to be able to go to an Apple event someday, to get invited to go, or to get some products sent over to review, you know, from Apple. That would be so cool. But I didn't start off expecting that to be the case. Instead, I just started creating. So I created with what I had, talk about my iPhone, talk about my iPad, talk about my Mac at the time, right? And eventually I made a video about the HomePod. I think it was the first HomePod that came out. And out of nowhere, out of the blue, I had no expectations that this was gonna happen. Some PR reps from Apple reached out to me and said, hey, can we talk? And I said, wow, yeah, let's talk. And that led to me being able to be invited to my very first Apple event as a press representative. And that was cool. And I got in a room and there was iJustine and there was Sarah Dietschy and there was MKBHD and there was Jonathan Morrison. And it was crazy. And it's not because I felt entitled to get that. I went out and worked to the point where I couldn't be ignored, I guess. It's always a chicken and an egg thing. And I know I'm talking an awful lot about YouTube, but I feel like this is really applicable in whatever line of work you're interested in. But one of my greatest pieces of advice for you ever, if you're thinking about starting a side hustle or a new business or just moving in a new direction, is to just start. Don't wait. It's my one and only regret when it comes to starting my own business, was that I waited too long. I wish I had done it 5 or 10 years earlier instead of what feels like to me sometimes wasting, you know, trying out stuff in the music industry or, you know, chasing the design career that actually I wasn't super interested in. Now, those years in my life were not pointless. And if you had told me later I was going to be on YouTube with a bigger audience and, you know, making a full-time living that way and meeting cool people and having all these opportunities, I would have been like, oh, whoa, that's weird, because that's just not where I even saw my life heading back then. But whatever you want to do, just start, because overthinking leads to inaction, and inaction kills your confidence, and that in turn ruins motivation. And then it's over before you even get started. One thing I've struggled with over the years, and I know a lot of people out there struggle with too, is just knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect. Something doesn't have to be exactly perfect and completely planned out before it can move forward. In fact, the opposite is kind of true oftentimes, where you just need to make a little progress every day, and then a lot of little things can stack up to be a big thing later on. Now, at this point, let me relieve a little bit of your mental stress, okay? If there's somebody out there who's making more money than you, or who you feel like is being more successful than you, then it's not necessarily because they're smarter or more skilled or just better than you. They could be smarter or more skilled, but it's entirely possible that they just got in, they got started before you, and that's it. That's the only differentiator. It's like one of the comments I see all the time is this comment that Daily Tech is one of the best, if not the best, tech channel this person has ever come in contact with, which I appreciate. I don't agree with that. I think there's some other amazing tech channels out there. Very happy with Daily Tech, but I wouldn't claim to be the best. But what I'm saying is I can almost predict the second part of that comment. I've seen it so much is, I can't believe you don't have more subscribers, or why don't you have more subscribers, or someday you're gonna have over 1 million subscribers, or whatever the comment is. And really the only thing is, that I just started later than other people. That's it. A lot of people started their YouTube channel when I was starting my blog in 2012. And those 3 years that it took me to transition to YouTube made a huge difference because they were early. So don't feel bad. That's just how it works. But that does lead me into my next thought for you, which is do what you can to find the frontier or frontiers in your field, the field that you're interested in. Like at one point, YouTube was a frontier. It was unsettled. And the people that got there first and did the homesteading, so to speak, the pioneers, that's who saw a lot of upside. And it's not that there's no upside to be gained now by starting a YouTube channel. That's not what I'm saying. But for some people, the next frontier turned out to be TikTok. And for other people, XYZ is going to be their frontier. This works for me too. I haven't told you guys about this until right now, but I'm actively working on a new project that's going to launch sometime in January. And it is going to be focused on the Web3 world, AKA crypto stuff. But when people hear crypto, it really doesn't explain everything that's happening in that space. So Web3, let's call it Web3. I'm super interested in it. It is definitely a frontier. We talked about Web 1, Web 2 is kind of where we are now. Web 3 is going to go mainstream. A lot of people have heard the word crypto, or maybe 16 or 20% of people in America have actually bought some crypto, but really people don't understand the underlying technology. So my role is going to be to help people who are non-crypto natives, they aren't native to the crypto community, actually understand in simple terms what it's all about. So yeah, Chris is out here still finding some new frontiers for himself too. And by the way, Daily Tech's not going anywhere. I love this channel. I love interacting with you guys. I'm just broadening the horizons a little bit. One of the strategies that I pointed out in the 5 ways to earn 6 figures with an iPad video, it's some advice that I give out all the time. It's advice that I'm taking myself as I start my Web3 journey as well, is to learn and share as you go. So you don't have to be an expert on something to make it a viable business, right? Or to build a community around what you're doing. If you're gonna take a journey, a lot of other people are probably gonna be interested in what you're interested in. It's a big world out there and wanna go on that journey too. And so if you can be there and say, hey, I've been a little ahead of you and watch out for this, and let me explain what this is, and they can grow and learn with you on your journey, you can bring them with you, it's gold. So think about where the frontier lies for your goals, for your dreams, for your interests, really above everything, and then just start learning. And as you learn, consider sharing. One thing you should absolutely do is start thinking like an investor. Now you're like, Chris, hold on. I don't have any money to be investing. That's totally okay. 10 years ago, I had 0 money to be investing. But you know what I did invest? I invested my time. If you're low on funds, start investing your time first. Now, when I say invest, I'm not really talking about just money, right? Monetary stuff, but you can invest in relationships. You can invest in a business. And yes, you can invest in things like stocks or crypto. And by the way, nothing in this video should be considered financial advice. Always do your own research. Okay, I gotta throw that disclaimer in. No financial advice here. But stop just existing and start thinking in terms of investing. Where are you investing your time? Where do you wanna be? Right? And then build your portfolio, the things that you're investing in. Personally, when it comes to investing, whether it's time or money, I'm a huge advocate of investing in three things, okay? Building a business, building a community, and also building a portfolio. Why? Because if you're gonna start thinking about actually building your wealth, then you have to understand a few things. There's a great thread on this from Naval. Maybe I'll link that up down below for you as well. That's potentially life-changing to go through for you. But he talks about needing to own a piece of something valuable. And companies tend to be very valuable, and you can start a company. I started a company, and it's brought great value into my life, and there's no reason that you can't either. Another thing that I started was a community. Daily Tech is a big community. Communities are really powerful now. They're only gonna get more powerful in the Web3 era. There's these things called DAOs, which are decentralized autonomous organizations. They sort of function like companies, but there's no one who's the CEO. There are these groups, these communities creating and generating value. And it's gonna be an interesting blueprint for getting things done in the next era. So if this is the kind of stuff that you're interested in, you don't know a whole lot about, you can either go check out Web3 on your own, or I'm gonna leave a link down below where you can be the first to sign up for my new project. It's gonna be totally free to come learn with me as I do my deep dive into that new sector as well. But building a community is so valuable. If you build a community, you don't have to have a product to sell right away. Some people build a product and then need to advertise it. If you build your community first, then you already have a group of people who are like-minded, who are on the same page with you, that might like a win-win scenario, a product that maybe was solving a pain point in your life that would solve a pain point in their life as well. And then obviously building an actual portfolio. Maybe you don't want to start a business, it's just not for you. Well, you can use a variety of apps to buy some stock or some crypto. And if you can't really afford a Bitcoin right now, or even one ETH, or if you just don't have enough money laying around to scoop up some Apple stock or some Tesla stock, then you can check out some fractional investing. There's plenty of different companies that are offering fractional solutions, whether it's art, investing in blue chip art and being a fractional owner there. You can own a fraction of an NFT, a valuable NFT. That's a new thing. You can fractionally invest in real estate. That's a thing too. I've run into a bunch of these. What I'll do is maybe link some of them up down below. Again, not financial advice. I'm just telling you, there's ways to make things happen without already previously being a millionaire. Now, here's something that I want you to think about, right? If you're like, this is it. This video is motivating me. I really do want to make things happen for myself. I want to start building up my own wealth and financial independence. How do I do that? Think about this. Everything that you have, everything that's a product that you encounter, that you use, was started by somebody thinking up a way that they could help somebody like you. Isn't that interesting? It's like, here's this whiskey tumbler that I love, that I got from Huckberry, that when you drink it down to the bottom is shaped like mountains on the bottom. I love this set. I got it from Huckberry. By the way, this jacket is from Huckberry. A lot of stuff recently is from Huckberry. They're not a sponsor, but people have been asking, where'd you get the jacket? Huckberry. I've been shopping at Huckberry too much, but I'll leave a link for you down below if you want to check it out. But somebody's like, hey, we should make this cool whiskey tumbler. I only drink nitro coffee out of it. I don't actually use it for whiskey. But that was something that somebody thought up. You know, look at the apps on your phone. What do I have here? I've got Wolfram Alpha. I've got Instagram, I've got Filmic Pro, I've got My Mind, the My Mind app, MindNode. You know, all of these apps were created by people just like you. So you have to understand a couple things. Ideas are run of the mill. You think you have a great idea for something, that's nothing. What actually matters is the execution, right? How many people want to have a YouTube channel? A lot of people. You know what? It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of dedication and grit, and you just got to do it and not give up for a really long time. So ideas are nothing. Execution is literally everything, because if an idea doesn't work, you can execute on another idea and keep trying until whatever it is sticks. But what I like is if you're gonna make money, whether IRL or digitally online, then you have to convince somebody to part with their money. You have to offer them something valuable to them. Could be information. You could have an informational product. That's kind of what daily tech is, an informational product, if you think about it. Or it could be a physical product that you like, but you have to provide value. There's something that you know about, maybe multiple things, that is valuable. If you would only share it, if you would get over your fear of trying and maybe failing, or of what other people are going to say, or whatever it is that's stopping you. You have value locked up inside your head in your experience that you need to unlock. But as you're thinking all these things over, it's a good idea to start thinking in terms of working for ownership versus working for money. I think that's a paradigm shift that's really worth thinking about. A lot of people, they just give up and they're just doing what society told them or what their parents told them. And they're just working away at that job, or they had to go the college route because that's what you were supposed to do, but they're not really happy. And it's not really setting up for the type of success or life that they're after. There's ways to make money, right? By just getting a job and being hired by somebody else. But unless you actually own a piece of something valuable, it definitely could be a business, it could be stock or crypto. But unless you own it, those dollars, they're not really doing you a whole lot, right? Inflation is sort of like a secret tax, and those dollars are gonna be worth less and less over time. So when you find win-win situations and you find a way to deliver it, to scale your business, to get those wins to other people, to help them win, that's really cool, by the way. Then what you wanna do is figure out a way to make money while you sleep. I almost hate saying that. It's just the best way to describe it. You hear it a lot. It's a buzz term, right? Everyone's saying it. But what it means is you have to find a way to separate the hours that you put in to earn money from the actual output, what you're getting back. So if you have a 9-to-5 job and you're getting paid, $12 an hour, $18 an hour, whatever it is, when you stop working for the day, then you stop earning as well. You're not earning in your sleep, so to speak. With this business, every time one of my videos gets shown, ads get shown as well, and I end up earning some money. So sometimes I almost think about these videos as employees in a way, because they're out there working for me, earning for me, whether I'm working or not. But literally, I earn while I sleep. And it didn't happen overnight. I invested years and years and years in building up a big library of videos that would be able to support me in a meaningful way in that way. But I'll give you another example. Sometimes I recommend a product, and if it's a product I really like and believe in, and I mention it on the channel, and I end up getting a cut of that sale, that is a win-win as well. I provided value to people and they found a tool or something that's good enough for them to pay for, to use. I love waking up and seeing in my inbox alerts that say, hey, here's another $35 or here's $80 from a sale that was made from some content that you produced. I just have money literally flowing into the inbox sometimes. Not like millions of dollars, but I've found different ways to make money when I'm not actually working. And that's something that you can figure out how to do too. Maybe not what I'm doing. I'm just giving you examples. I don't know what you want to do, but I know that you can absolutely go out and invest your time in learning what you need to and expand your time frame from focusing on the little micro stuff to a bigger, 5, 7, 10-year time frame. You can go out and accomplish all this same exact stuff. Because another interesting thing that took me a really long time to figure out is that direction honestly matters more than speed. You pick a goal and you just start trying to make progress. And I'll tell you this, especially if you don't have a lot of money to, invest in whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish outright, like I didn't, right? I started from scratch, literally. Then things are gonna go slow and you can't expect something to be an overnight success. And then someday in the future, some big things are gonna start happening because of all the little things that you've been stacking up over a period of many months and maybe several years. And that's when you're gonna see some real big progress. And while we're at it, one thing I think is important to share is you have to be original. So as my channel started to mature, I saw what other tech channels were doing, and I could have tried to say, I'm gonna be like MKBHD, who's way bigger. Right? I'm just thinking of some of the well-known people so that we can be on the same page. Get the big studio and start hiring a massive team and just, create more channels and do things that way. That is a model, but someone's already doing that. I'm not gonna be the best MKBHD. I'm only gonna be the best Chris. Or I could have looked at what Lou was doing, another big channel, and he's, started a Joe Rogan-like show, and he's interviewing guests. And that's great. So happy for Lou. That's interesting. I tune in frequently, and I get a lot out of both of those channels. But I'm not going to be those people. I'm not going to be better than them. I'm only going to be the best Chris. I got to be original. So, if they've already done it, that's not my frontier, right? It's already, there's pioneers there. All the land's already taken up, right? I want to find something fresh for my next opportunity. So nobody in the tech space, in this tech space, was getting really super into crypto stuff and Web3. It was just an interest that I had and have become very passionate about. So I'm going to be off in that direction and making things happen over there, because that's what works for me. And so you don't want to hear Chris saying like, hey, that's what I'm doing, so I'm going to go do that. I'm not going to mention the channel, but there's a channel that just copies everything that I do. And there's been several over the years. Here, for Apple stuff I'm talking about. I'll title a video this way, I'll come up with a different format, and wow, they've just tweaked it just a tiny little bit and putting out the same exact thing. And when they run out of people to copy, then what? You have to be original. And the best way I think to do that is to just be authentic and be yourself. Let's put it this way. If there's already a class out there that's teaching it, then it's probably not a frontier. You want to be the teacher, so to speak, if you really want to capture the upside of something huge. So you got to go out and you got to do. And that's when you get experience. That's where you get judgment. And what do they say? Experience is a tough teacher because it gives the test first and the lesson after. It's true. But sometimes you're just not going to know until you try, and in a lot of cases fail, but you need that experience. That's where judgment comes from. And really that's what sets everybody apart, is their judgment. So whatever it is that you want to be successful at, you got to get the reps in, right? You're not going to become a bodybuilder if you're not doing the reps, the actual lifting, the diet. There's a lot that goes into it, and you got to do it over a long period of time. It's not overnight. And I know I already talked about this, but I want to reiterate, that person who you see making it right now that seems so successful, hitting those big milestones and talking about accomplishments, they just got there before you. They've probably been at it for 10 years before you. So there's a reason, it wasn't just handed to them, most likely on a silver platter. They probably deserve that success. Be happy for them. Like, it shouldn't be like this, like, oh, so-and-so has a really awesome house. And somebody asks you, well, what do you want? You want a house like that? You shouldn't be like, no, I just want their house to burn down. No. These things are not out of your grip, your reach. Just put in the work. The internet is permissionless. You don't need anyone's permission. You just go make it happen. And the last bit of motivation that I want to leave you with, and I guess I feel like that's really what this turned out to be, more about motivation than like a blueprint of actual steps that you need to follow for stuff, right? But the last bit of motivation is just don't give up, because it's never too late to start. Never. Somebody out there is like, hey, I'm 15. It's too late. I should have started this whatever earlier. No, you're going to feel young at 22 or 25. You're going to feel young at 40 still in some ways in your head. And if you're 65 and you're watching this and you're like, oh no, I could never do this. There's so many people who started successful businesses after age 50 or 55 or whatever. It's absolutely not too late to make the changes that you want to make, but nothing changes unless something changes. Give me your feedback if you like this video or not. I don't want to drop too many of these on this channel, because while I'm passionate about it, I really do like helping people and giving hope, being positive. I feel like the world's so cynical that just being authentic, just being positive is a major win for everybody. People need that, I'm convinced. Everything's so dark on Netflix and HBO and just the news, the world in general. Just providing some positivity, I think, is a good asset, something good to put out there. So give me your feedback. But I'm really excited about this new project that I'm working on. And if you want more content like this, if you are interested in a new frontier and you want to learn about it with me, then I'm going to be doing that in several different ways. So you can drop your email using the form down below, and I'll make sure that you get notified. You guys are going to be the first. I haven't told anybody about this yet online. So you can be the first to know about the new project coming in January if you give me your email down below. No spam, nothing like that. But the final word that I want to leave you with is, don't just buy into things because people are saying them. Even people that you really respect, even me. You should always ask why. This is almost my thesis for life. Always ask why. And I'll tell you why. Because the truth was never going to mind an honest question. So when people get really defensive, when you ask a question, that's probably not a good sign, because the truth will never mind, right? I made a whole podcast episode about that and sort of my worldview, including the truth will never mind, which I'll link up, I guess, down below too, if you want to check that out as well. But that's it for this video. I don't know if you enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it. Hopefully you did too. I hope you feel motivated. Don't wait. Make sure you go start whatever it is that you're doing. Set yourself up to be your own bailout. And I know you're going to make it. Wag me, am I right? All right, I'll catch you in the next Daily Tech video or in the new project. Later.